Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Odalis. I'm going to be sharing with you guys a little bit about my story of my pregnancy when I was pregnant. So when I got pregnant, I was a junior in high school. It was the beginning of the year, it was August. That's when I found out I was pregnant. It was August 28th when I found out I was pregnant. So the year had just started, literally. So me and my boyfriend had been living together for a while now. Not long, but he moved in with me when I was 16 years old. So we were living together when I was 16 and I got pregnant when I was 17. So it was like a year later I got pregnant. So yeah, like I said, it was August when I got pregnant. I was actually doing sports. I was just a cheerleader. And like I said, I was a junior in high school. So at the beginning, I would think about, dropping everything and quitting school, maybe just doing online, because I was embarrassed. I was scared of the fact that I would have to go to high school pregnant or people finding out. So what I did at the beginning, I just talked to my coach, my cheer coach, and I basically just told her that I was pregnant and I was going to have to quit cheerleading. So that day stayed like that. I quit cheer, and later that day she texted me and she asked me if I could just stay on the team for football season because I didn't have to do much. It was just, the sidelines, just cheering on the sidelines. So I did that, and I would stunt a little, but I got scared. I got scared of the fact that I was just lifting, and even though my body was used to it, used to just stunting and everything, I was scared. I was scared of the fact that I might lose my baby. So I told her I couldn't do that, and all I did was cheer on the sidelines until football season was over. So, as the year went on, I talked to one of my teachers. This teacher, I trusted her. I still do to this day. I trust her so much with everything. I would talk to her about anything. So this day I told her, I was like, hey, can I talk to you out in the hallway? And yeah, we went out and we talked. And I basically just told her, like, when I got to the topic, I didn't say I was pregnant. They would just figure it out because, for example, with my cheer coach, I was like, hey, I'm gonna have to quit cheer, and she's like, let me guess, you're pregnant. And I was like, yeah. So same thing happened with this teacher. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing online school for second semester, and she was like, she was like, are you having a baby, something like that, but she guessed it, and I was like, yeah. But at this point, I was just emotional. I was scared. I think that's the best word to describe it. I was just scared of everything. Like, I was 17 and I was pregnant, And it's just that scary in general. We were living with my mom at the time too. So I'll get to that in a minute. So when I told my teacher, she was like, okay, I'm going to talk to the principal. I'm going to see if we can do that. And because, not to mention, as a sophomore year, at the end of sophomore year, I decided I wanted to graduate a whole year early. So my classes were already set up to graduate my junior year in May. So she said that she would talk to my principal, and she'd get back to me. So then months went on, and I wasn't showing yet. My first pregnancy, I didn't show until I was like 5 months pregnant. I think it got to like November. So I told her this around September, and in November, I was like, okay, well, she's not getting back to me. So I talked to her and I was like, hey, have you, talked to him about anything, the principal? And she was like, yes, but he doesn't want to. Like, if it's not a medical problem, like, you can't leave school, basically. Like, I can leave, I can quit school, but I wasn't going to be able to graduate. So, the goal was to graduate, especially because, I had a baby coming and I didn't want to go to school my senior year having a baby, like a newborn. So, I just really wanted to graduate that year. So basically, it was like December, like last minute before Christmas break, we decided that, I wasn't going to do online school if I wanted to graduate. If I wanted to graduate, I had to go down to a lower diploma, which was a general diploma, and cut out like math class, and I cut out like 3 classes. What I was originally going for is Core 40. So it was January, and I was still going to school. I was actually really nervous because when we got back, okay, I started showing. When I could say I really started showing was on Christmas break. Like, it was like from nothing to something, and like that fast. It was like 2 weeks, and it went that fast. I started showing, and so when I got back to school, I was actually really nervous. So I would just wear loose clothes. I wore really loose clothes for a couple months until, I couldn't hide it anymore. But at the beginning, I was actually really scared. And I also want to mention that at the beginning of school, I had this friend, my best friend. I obviously told her about my pregnancy. I didn't want anybody else to know in the school. I was scared of what people might say or think, or to get judged in general, I was just scared of the fact that I was pregnant in school. So this person, my best friend told, rumors. I got told that she told people, and so I got mad at that fact. So I didn't talk to her, and she was like my only friend in school. So I didn't talk to her for a while, like I went like a month. I didn't talk to her. So I just wanted to say that because I want you guys to understand like how, like, what I was feeling at the moment. Like, I didn't want anybody to know. I was scared. Like, these people I've been going to school with for my entire life, and to be that pregnant girl in high school, like, that's scary. And so when I heard that she had told people, so I messaged her and I asked her. She said no, and I still didn't believe it, and I got mad. And so I'm just saying that just so you guys understand how I was feeling at the moment. So okay, we came back from Christmas break, and we actually started talking again with that. I started talking to that friend again, and who's currently my best friend now, still. She, we talked things out, and yeah. So anyway, going back to me showing, I was wearing loose clothes for a couple months, and it soon got to the point where I couldn't hide my pregnancy anymore. I started wearing normal clothes. I started, okay, in my pregnancy, I'm gonna insert pictures. I'm gonna try to. But during my pregnancy, I got swollen. My face, my hands, my feet, everything was swollen, and nothing fit me. All I would wear was leggings, and not even, I didn't want to buy maternity pants because they're expensive. Maternity things are expensive. So I would just wear shirts, maternity shirts, or hoodies. Like, that was my whole, like, that's how I used to dress when I was pregnant. So, walking around the hallways, I felt awkward. I would carry my books in front of my stomach because I would, like, everybody could tell that I was pregnant, but it was just awkward to walk through the hallways. I would walk through the hallways and I would not look at anybody. I would just walk straight to, and then go straight to the other class that I had to go to. And there was a lot of stares. I got a lot of stares, and it was just awkward. Like, teacher, like, nobody said anything to me. Nobody. But it got to the point where when I would get stared at, I didn't feel anything anymore. I was used to it. So thinking about it now, I believe in that God will never give you something that you can't handle. So I always take that, and that, honestly, that's like the hardest thing I've ever have to go to. Not just being pregnant in school, but that was just something that I would have never thought I was going to go through ever. I would always say, because my sophomore year, there was actually a pregnant girl in high school, but she was a senior, and I was like, wow, like, I didn't judge her, but I would just say, if I ever got pregnant, I wouldn't come to school. Like, I don't know, it's just crazy because you never know. You just never know, and you can't just judge someone just like that, You can't just say it's not gonna happen, and it might, and that was my case. It did happen, and I got through it, and I'm so thankful for the people that were there for me. I'm so thankful for them, because when you think about going, like, a pregnant girl in high school, like, most people judge. Honestly, most people are judgmental when it comes to a topic like that. And I don't know, that's just, it's a sensitive topic for people that do go through that. And I was never told anything. Nobody ever, judged me. Nobody, well, that I know of, nobody told me anything. All that I went through in school was stares. I got stared at a lot, and yeah. So I actually kind of want to talk about how I found out. So me and my friend, my best friend that I always talk about, we we would always have, like, those scares. I was living with my boyfriend, and I was not on birth control. I wasn't taking anything. This friend, she's on birth control. But we would always have those scares that, we might be pregnant, or, I think I am, or, and we got to take, like, a couple pregnancy tests together. And this last time, we actually got some together, and it came up negative. It was early. It was too early for the pregnancy test to even give me an accurate answer. But then I was like, okay. So I had a cheer game, and I actually cheered. I was actually a flyer and a base. I would base and I would fly. So that was the last night I got to fly ever. And the second day was a Saturday, and I was supposed to get my period that day. But I'm so exact that I just felt it. I just felt that I was pregnant. And so that Saturday, and it was always to where when I would get my period, my cramps were horrible. They would wake me up in the middle of the night. I could not sleep at all, and that was just me. And that night I woke up, it was a Saturday, and I was like, okay, no cramps. Nothing. And I took a pregnancy test, because I already had one from the time that me and my friend took one. So I took a pregnancy test. I went upstairs, I went to the restroom, and I took it. And I was like, no, like, am I, like, but I know my body, and it was something that I just felt like I was. And so that day, I took it, and it came up pregnant. The first thing I did was, I remember so perfectly, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, holy, I'm pregnant. I was like, nuh-uh. And immediately started thinking about everything, like, oh my gosh, school, cheerleading, like, what am I gonna do, you know? Like, I don't know. So first thing I did was send a picture to my friend, and I didn't say anything, I just sent it. And I sent it to my sister, who at the time was in Mexico. So I sent it to her, and they were all like, you know, it was unexpected. So that day, me and my boyfriend were actually in an argument that morning, so we weren't talking to each other. So I just went downstairs. First thing I did was throw him the pregnancy test. And he was just like, nah. Because at the time, my sister-in-law was also pregnant, and he was like, no, this is hers. And I was like, no, it's mine. And at the time, all he did was cover his head. And I'm not saying that he was upset or anything, but like, you know, like, what do you do? Like, you don't expect this. We're still living at my mom's. You know, we don't have things. It's something so unexpected that, you know, you don't know what to think about. You don't know how to act. Like, we were happy for it once it got into our heads, the idea of having a baby. We were happy, but it was a surprise that, you know, you don't know how to react at the moment. So all he did was cover himself up with the covers. It was in the morning, and I just bawled because I was like, oh my gosh, like, he's not happy, and like, I don't know what to do. Like, so many things were going through my head. So right then and there, I went to my mom, and me and my mom have this relationship to where I can tell her anything, you know, and it's not like she's gonna yell at me. Or, mind you, I was 17 at the moment. I had just turned 17, and you know, she's not the type of person to tell me anything, like getting like in trouble wise. I wasn't in trouble. You know, my boyfriend was living with us, so she kind of expected it. So I got there and I told her, well, I just stared at her and I was like, she was like, what? And I was like, and I think I started crying, and she was like, because I was scared. So through all of this beginning, this first day, I was just crying because I was so scared. I didn't know how people would react. I know that shouldn't be something I should care about, like what people think. But I was in school, and I was a cheerleader, and you know, I wanted to graduate. So I told my mom, and you know, she hugged me and she told me that everything would be okay, you know, she's my mom, and that I'm not alone. And you know, she made me feel comfortable with the idea that I was pregnant. So then, little by little, everybody started finding out in, like, my family. I called my dad, not that day, but my dad is in Mexico, and I called him, like, months later. Like, a month or two later. But yeah, he just told me that everything was gonna be okay, you know. So, yeah. So currently my baby is 8 months old. He just turned 8 months. Oh, I also want to talk about when he was born, my son. He was born on April 16th. I actually started getting contractions in school. That day was a Monday. I went in late. I went in at 9, and I was just laying on my mom's bed, and all of a sudden I was like, I never got Braxton Hicks. I didn't know what it was, you know, just by reading about it, I kind of had an idea, and it was a feeling I had never felt before. So my stomach just started getting like tight, but it wasn't painful. It was just uncomfortable, and it would get tight, and then so then I was like, nuh-uh, because mind you, I was 37 weeks pregnant. I had my baby at 37 weeks. So I was like, no, this could not be. And I had just turned 37 weeks, like, that Monday, I'm pretty sure, or that Sunday. So I was like, no, this isn't it. So I went to school, and it just kept happening, and it would happen every 5 minutes, 3 minutes, you know, but they weren't strong. They weren't getting stronger. They were just getting more and more and more uncomfortable. So that I texted my teacher, the teacher I told you guys about. I texted her and I was like, hey, I think I'm starting to get contractions. And she was like, okay, come down here, come to my class, you know, we'll talk about it. And I went down there and we talked about it. I went to my other class. I had another class, but they would just, it started happening consistently. But I didn't do anything. I didn't tell anybody. Actually, a friend that day texted me, and she was like, she saw me in the hallway walking to that class, and she's like, hey, are you okay? I don't know if she saw, because I don't think I was acting weird. I don't think I was acting different. And I was like, I just think I'm getting contractions. And then I think she texted her mom, and you know, she started asking questions. Are they this? Is it happening like under 5 minutes? Like, you know. So after that class, I went home. Those classes were only 45 minutes because it was on a Monday, or 50 minutes, something like that. So I went home, and I was just laying on my mom's bed. I remember I was just laying down, and I texted my sister. I was like, hey, because at that point I had already texted my mom, I had already texted my boyfriend, and I had already texted my sister, which my sister was already here at that time. She was working, and I told her about it, and she was like, okay, do you want me to get out of work and take you to the hospital? And I was like, but I don't know, like, I don't know if that's what I'm feeling. I don't know if they're contractions. I don't want them to tell me, like, you know, like, those aren't contractions, or just send me home. So I told her, like, you know, okay, just come and get me, and we're gonna go to the hospital, because, you know, this is happening, and it's something I've never felt before. It's just getting more and more and more uncomfortable. But it wasn't painful. It was just really uncomfortable. And I had the curiosity, like, this is the reason I wanted to go to the hospital then, because they weren't painful, but I wanted to go to the hospital because I wanted to make sure that those were contractions, what I was feeling. So I went to the hospital, and they said, okay, yes, they are contractions, but they're not, but I wasn't dilating, so they sent me home. And the nurse told me, like, you know, come back if you start feeling this, or this. So that whole day I was just feeling them, and I had an app where I was just timing them, and they were happening under 5 minutes, what it's supposed to be like when you're, like, in labor. And but they were just uncomfortable. Like, I didn't do anything about it for that whole day, and then that night I was like, okay, I'm gonna get in the shower. And I told my mom about it because they started happening in my back. I was starting to get contractions in my lower back, but they weren't painful. They were just uncomfortable, like I've said a million times. So we went to the hospital. It was like 10 at night, and I started dilating. I was dilating. I was more dilated than I was when I went there in the morning time. So they made me wait like an hour, and then they checked me again if I was dilated, but they weren't sure if they wanted me to go home or not. So they kept coming back telling to see if I was dilating or not. And I was. Then they decided they were finally gonna just leave me at the hospital because it was, I was dilated enough to where I couldn't just go home. Or if I was gonna go home, I would come right back. So in the middle of the night, my contractions actually stopped completely. They just stopped. So what they did, it was like around 7 in the morning or 6. My actual doctor came in and she broke my water, and then after that, that's when I felt what actual contractions were like. Oh, they were so painful. Like every single time I would get a contraction, I'd just cry. It was rough. But I'm so glad that I didn't get to feel that for a while because I was dilated enough to where I could get my epidural. Well, not dilated enough, but they just told me I could get an epidural if I wanted to, and I obviously did. I got my epidural, and like not even an hour or two later, I feel like that's when I got my rest. I slept for a little bit. I don't even know how long, but right after I woke up, I was like, I think I told the doctor I was feeling something, and she checked me and she was like, okay, you're 10 centimeters dilated, which that is when a baby is born. So then they started getting everything ready, and it took me 15 minutes to push my 7-pound baby in 21 inches. It took me 15 minutes, and they were actually really surprised because this is my first baby. So yeah, I didn't go back to school at all anymore. It was April, and school was over in May, and all I did was I went back to school for the tests. I took tests, and the teachers were so helpful, and I'm so glad. That same teacher, I will forever be thankful and grateful for that teacher, because I don't know what I would have done without her. She's the one that got me to graduate, and even though I did graduate later than I was supposed to, I didn't get to walk or anything, but I graduated around June. And so guys, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'm so sorry that this video was all over the place. I just wanted to get everything out there. I know I'm going to be watching this, and I'm going to be like, oh gosh, I forgot this, and this. But I got everything on there that I thought about. And I'm so sorry that it was all over the place. But I hope you guys liked it. If you did, make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and join me on my channel. And I'm excited for this channel, and I have a lot of ideas that I want to do. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye.